So what we will be covering today is first we'll start with what is data privacy, what exactly we mean by personal data. We'll take an overview of the standard IS 17428, which is a data privacy management system standard by the Bureau of International Standards, basically. We will also understand requirements of IS 17428. To start with, let's understand what is privacy. Privacy is right to be let alone or freedom from interference or intrusion. If we want to be private, we want to be let alone, we want no interference from anyone, that is called privacy. But when we look at information or data privacy, it doesn't mean that I am not going to provide my data to an organization or company for any work. It basically means the right to have some control over how my data is going to be processed by an organization, for what purpose they are going to use it, do I want them to stop processing it, what data I can provide to them, what data I can tell them not to do anything about, what rights I do have, can I ask them to edit my data, can I ask them to delete my data, can I ask them to port my data. So right to have some control over how my data is going to be processed by the organization is information and data privacy mostly all about. Now, when we say data privacy is all about personal data, let's understand what is personal data. Personal data is any information that relates to an individual. It is, it can identify or can be used to identify an individual. So any information like your name, your address, your email ID, your telephone number, or your official identifiers, your PAN number, your Aadhaar number, your voter ID number, become your personal data. Along with that, your online identifiers like your device ID, your mobile ID, your IMEI number, or your IP address also becomes your personal information. Personal data, worldwide, there are different terms used for personal data, more commonly known as personal information as well as personally identifiable information. So when you look at different regulations or laws across the world, they may term it as personal data, personal information, or personally identifiable information. They more or less mean the same thing. Now, when we look at data privacy landscape in the global sense, there are many laws and regulations across the world. Some countries have very comprehensive laws like EU GDPR. Some countries have sector-specific or state-specific laws like United States, where you will find sector-specific laws such as GLBA, which focuses on financial information and financial data. You will have HIPAA over there, which specifically focuses on health information. And also we have state-specific regulations in US, like California has its own regulation. Then there are some countries like India where we do not have a comprehensive privacy law. However, privacy is looked at in certain sections or parts in some regulations or law. Like India has Indian IT Act, Section 43A talks about sensitive data processing and rules. Now, data privacy suddenly became in limelight in 2016 when GDPR became effective. Main reason was fines and penalties in GDPR are way higher. Violation of any GDPR compliance requirement can cost a company up to 4%. So basically, there are two slabs, 2% or 10 million, whichever is higher, and 20 million or 4% of annual global turnover of the organization, whichever is higher. So because of the very high fines, data privacy suddenly became in the limelight. GDPR became the game changer. Let's look at what is the current data privacy framework in India. So India do not have a comprehensive regulation. We talked about that just now. In the absolute specific law, privacy is looked at under IT Act 2000, which is amended in 2008. We have Section 43A, we have Section 72 that also talks about personal data protection. Section 43A specifically focuses on sensitive personal data. So we have some information or personal data which is identified as high risk to an individual. For example, financial information of a person, password of a person, or health information, biometric information, genetic data. These are called as sensitive and high risk information, which is identified as sensitive personal data. And we have certain rules and regulations in India about how to process this SPDI or sensitive personal data. These are known as SPDI rules. They are framed under IT Act 2000, amended in 2008. Along with that, in 2017, Supreme Court in Puttaswamy judgment basically mentioned that right to privacy is there for India, and it is now guaranteed under Article 21, part of the right to life and personal liberty for the Indian citizens. Apart from this, currently we are in talk about India PDPB, Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. So it started with India PDPB 2018. There was a version of the India Personal Data Protection Bill. Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology introduced the bill in Lok Sabha in December 2019. The bill then referred to Joint Parliamentary Committee, and the Parliamentary Committee was reviewing it to finalizing a draft report. The JPC received 5 extensions over last 2 years, and on 22nd November 2021, this week itself, the JPC has finalized the draft report on the India PDP 2019. The draft report is now likely to be placed before the Lok Sabha Speaker, and if everything goes well, mostly the bill will be tabled during the winter session this year. The penalties of India PDPB are in true brackets similar to GDPR that we have. We have INR 15 crore or 4% of global annual turnover of last financial year, whichever is higher, or INR 5 crore or 2% of global annual turnover of last financial year of the organization, whichever is higher. INR 15 crore are basically for serious violations by an organization. INR 5 crores are failure to conduct a data audit or similar level of offenses by any organization. Now move on to IS 17428, the standard that we will be talking in this session. So before going and telling you the overview about IS 17428, let me give you a brief idea about Bureau of Indian Standards. So Bureau of Indian Standards is a statutory institution established under Bureau of Standards Act 2016 to promote harmonious development of the activities and some standards. So basically, they issue amendments, guidelines, and develop some standards for various areas. So under that, they have prepared a standard, data privacy assurance standard, specifically will be applicable to any organization that is processing personal data. IS 1748 is the Indian standard prepared by BIS. It's a comprehensive standard formulated for information system security and privacy. Basically, it is formulated by Information System Security and Privacy Sectional Committee and approved by the Electronics and Information Technology Divisional Council of the BIS. It specifies requirements and provides guidelines for establishing, implementing DPMS, the Data Privacy Management System. This standard is basically framed to provide data privacy assurance to individuals whose personal data is processed by an organization. Having said that, IS 17428 is framed and available in 2 parts. IS 17428 provides specific requirements about adherence to the standard. Part 2 provides guidelines which are voluntary to be implemented by the organization. So IS 17428 Part 1 has control specified to be applicable and to be adhered by the organization. IS 17428 Part 2 will talk about how the organization can implement that particular control. A broad guideline is given that can be used as a help text or guidance by the organization. Importantly, using the same guideline, using the same method provided in Part 2 is not voluntary. It is basically voluntary. It is not mandatory. It is just a guidance. So it is optional for organization. Organization can use any other method, any other way to implement the same control. There is nothing against it. Similar to every standard in the world, starting from IS or British standards, IS 17428 standard is also a voluntary standard. The organization can choose to go ahead and implement it for privacy assurance. Why implement a data privacy management system? Currently looking at the scenario that we see around us, 45% organizations have at least one compromised account. The average total cost of a data breach has reached to $3.92 million. 43% of breaches are involving small businesses. 29% of the breaches involve use of stolen credentials by phishing account or any other type of account. Malicious attacks are the most common and most expensive. Looking at the current scenario and everyday breaches that we come across, it is better to have a framework in the organization which provides us a guidance or guideline to implement data privacy or data privacy system in the organization. So it will actually help the organization, and how using IS 17428 benefit the organization. It will give the stakeholders the transparency what exactly the organization is doing towards privacy. It basically provides a more collaborative approach, because not only one person, but there are teams working towards personal data protection and data privacy. It will give privacy assurance to your customers, to your employees, that if I'm giving data to XYZ organization, my data is in secure hand, it will not be violated. Facilitates effective business agreements between two organizations, clarifies roles and responsibilities, who is supposed to do what, whose responsibility is what with respect to personal data and data privacy, what exactly is the responsibility of a privacy officer, what exactly is the responsibility of a privacy champion in the organization. It also provides support to achieve privacy compliance to regulatory and contractual requirements. So it will give you a framework of adhering to various regulations. So IS 17428 is a standard, is a framework for data privacy. So any applicable regulation to the organization, it will fit into the mold, and you will be uh, very easily can implement it to achieve privacy compliance with various regulations, be it GDPR or Canada or US privacy regulation, using the same standard or same framework for your organization. When the privacy standard was getting developed, BIS actually consulted a lot of organizations over here. Of course, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology was part of it. CDAC was consulted. Various big organizations were consulted. Infosys was part of it. Reliance was part of it. Genpact, KPMG, HCL, NEC India Private Limited, many Data Security Council of India, DSCI, many organizations were part of it, providing consulting, providing their inputs in framing the India privacy standard, which is IS 17428. After their consultations, after their input, the standard was finalized and then released. Okay, what is the main structure of IS 17428 data privacy management system? We have six sections. Section 1 basically gives us a scope. Section 2 talks about references to different documents. Section 3 gives us definitions in the standard. Section 4 talks about privacy engineering. Section 5 gives us privacy management requirements, and Section 6 talks about compliance with the standard. Looking at scope of this, who should use IS 17428? So IS 17428, the standard is applicable to any types of and sizes of the organization, including public and private companies, government entities, not-for-profit organization. The organization has to process personal data, basically. The standard is not applicable to organizations that process personal data only in non-electric format. So if your organization only processing data in hard copies format, paper format, this standard is not applicable, as well as the standard is not applicable to any kind of non-personal information. So any information which is not related to a person or individual, this standard is not applicable to that. To give an example of non-personal information is your company information, company financial information, your IPs, intellectual property of the company, right? So those kind of information which is not relating to a person or individual, the standard is not applicable to that. Now, organizations having multiple business, multiple entities located in different locations may choose to implement the standard to the whole entity, or may choose to implement the standard to an individual entity or part of it. So the applicability or the scope you can define, organization can define accordingly. Moving on, references. This standard basically takes assistance also from ISO 27001, 27701, which is Information Security Management System, and Personal Information Management System. References are also given to specific to two documents, which is first is the guidance itself of IS 17428 Part 2, which is Data Privacy Assurance Engineering and Management Guidelines, right? And it also gives a reference to ISO 27001 Information Technology Vocabulary, where the detailed definitions of privacy, data privacy terms and definitions are already provided. The definitions, IS 17428 defines 23 terms and definitions. Major definitions are given below. One is data controller. If you are aware about GDPR, the same term it is used. Data controller, any organization that determines the means and purpose of processing of personal information. Data processor, any organization that processes personal information on behalf of or in accordance with the instructions of a data controller. So any service provider, any third party, any vendor working for an organization on their instructions are basically termed as data processors. Data subject, any individual, any natural person whose data is getting processed. So your employees, customers, end users, website visitors, guests, witness entries, guarantors, they all become the data subjects, right? Personal information. So here, if you look above, the terms are taken from GDPR. But in GDPR, the term is used as personal data. We are here in Indian standard, we are using the term as personal information. Definition says any information that can be used to identify the individual to whom such information relates to, or is or might be directly or indirectly linked to an individual. So any information that can be identifying the person, for example, your name or your official identifier like your Aadhaar card or something, can be used to identify the individual, or any information that might be directly or indirectly linked to an individual. For example, your address, your phone number, your email, which is directly or indirectly linked to you, or maybe your IP address or your device ID, which is directly or indirectly linked to you. Okay, so personal information can be used to identify a person or might be directly or indirectly linked to an individual. It also defines privacy controls. Privacy controls are measures that protect personal or sensitive personal information by reducing the likelihood of occurrence of privacy risk. More importantly, the standard doesn't define sensitive personal information, what forms sensitive personal information. It gives reference to any regulation that is applicable to the organization. The sensitive personal information should be taken from that. So if GDPR applies to the organization, the special category terms from GDPR will be applicable over here. If India Personal Data Protection Bill, which will become Personal Data Protection Act, applies to your organization, then the sensitive personal information definition from there will be applicable to your organization, and you have to define and choose accordingly. Okay, let's move on to clause 4, privacy engineering. IS 17428 basically works on privacy by design principle. So it emphasizes privacy by design requirements. It says that any organization has to introduce data privacy aspect during the design stage of development of any product, any service, as well as solution. So if any organization is designing a product or a solution or a service to the end users, individual customers, or the B2B customers, they need to keep in mind the data privacy aspects, and that is more importantly defined in clause 4. So clause 4 says you need to understand what is the product, service, and solution you are going to provide to your end users, and then understand what is the privacy requirement over there, what exactly with respect to privacy I have to do. I have to base my design considerations on those privacy principles that I have identified, and then I have to conduct verification and testing of my product, solution, service to understand if I am adhering to all the requirements of privacy, or there are still any risks that I need to mitigate, and some measures I have to put over there. Let's look at them one by one. So the most important thing is the organization has to determine the requirements of data privacy with respect to the product, solution or service that they're going to provide. You need to first look at your jurisdiction, various regulatory, statutory, and contractual requirements, and not only related to privacy. Along with that, any other requirements are applicable to the organization, and also privacy and security controls for organization own business needs, privacy and security policies and processes. So when you are looking at your privacy requirements, you need to identify one, the jurisdiction you are falling into, the regulations you are applicable to, your third parties or any contractual requirements, those are there, right? And with respect to that, any privacy and security control from your own business requirements or needs. You need to look at some privacy principles when you are defining the privacy requirements, and these privacy principles are these. First and foremost, personal data collection and limitation. So whenever you are collecting the information or whenever you are processing the information, you need to determine a lawful basis for collection or processing. Now these lawful bases change according to the regulation, but more or less these 5 lawful bases are common. You must have heard about consent, agreement or agreeing by the individual, basically vital interest when there is a life and death situation, you are collecting the information or you're providing the information, right? Or you're processing the information for any legal obligation. For example, KYC processing happens for the legal obligation. Or you are processing the information for any public interest situation, like during pandemic, organization started processing data for COVID-19 for health effect. So that is public interest. Or there are information you're processing for some legitimate interest of yours. So you need to identify and determine the ground or basis of processing the personal data. You need to ensure that you are collecting this personal data for only specific identified purpose, and it is only proportional to that purpose. For example, you know what you are collecting the data for. What kind of service are you going to provide? Are you going to provide cloud storage services? Are you going to provide any analytics services? Are you going to provide HRMS services or marketing services? You need to know the purpose why you are collecting or why you are processing the data. And also, whatever data you are collecting should be proportional to that purpose. So for that requirement, if you require a certain set of data, please only collect and use a certain set of information. Privacy notice, please provide privacy notice to individual before collecting information from them. You all must have seen privacy policies on website. They are also termed as privacy policies on website. These are basically privacy notices providing information to end users about the policies and practices of the organizations, what they do with respect to personal data. For any lawful basis which you have identified as consent. Okay, so for processing, you will identify that, okay, this is my lawful basis. For KYC, my lawful basis is legal obligation. But for marketing, my lawful basis is consent. So for any activity that you have identified, my basis is going to be consent, then collect the consent from the person. I agree to marketing. I agree to receive the newsletters, kind of consent. Store that consent, record that consent, and also provide option to withdraw the consent to the user by providing unsubscribe link or by providing an email or phone number to contact the organization. The next privacy principle is related to use limitation. This standard talks about is use only data, collected data only for the purpose which have you identified earlier. Correct. Accuracy, ensure that the data is kept accurate throughout the life cycle. Ensure when you're collecting the information, you can check the accuracy of the information. You can use various methods dependent on why you're collecting the information. For example, phone number verification, email ID verification, accuracy disclaimers from or confirmations from the end user when providing the accuracy or while providing the data. Like, I agree that the information provided by me is correct and accurate to my understanding, right? Also give provisions to individuals to update their information. So if they provide you information once, provide them the option that they can come back and make changes. Certain scenarios, address changes, email changes, phone number changes, even in certain scenarios, your name changes, correct? So identify the data that may require addition and provide the option to the users to make that edit. Provide security to the data. So identify what kind of security required to the data that you hold, and it is not same for all the organizations. The business has to identify what is the security level you require for your personal data that you're processing. If you are processing medium risk, low risk, high risk personal data, you need to define and identify security controls according to that. A bank, a cloud service provider, a social media intermediary like Facebook, or professional network like LinkedIn, and a library and a school will not require the same level of security. They will have security parameters or security controls dependent on the work or the data that they hold and process. So the business has to identify what is the risk and what is the security measures that they have to implement over here. More importantly, when you're disclosing the personal data to third parties being anyone from your data processor to any other third party, legal, regulatory authority or something like that, to ensure that it is as per the law requirement. Law requirement as in any application, any applicable law that is applicable to the organization. For example, if GDPR is applicable, GDPR requirements, India applicable, India requirements, Singapore applicable, Singapore. Okay. Personal data storage limitation, more importantly, only retain personal data for the duration as required by the law or for business purpose. No privacy regulations will tell you that the data has to be stored for so and so year and time. Organization has to take the decision on the basis of applicable other regulations or the business processes for how long you are going to keep the data. Now we may have some RBI circulars, we may have some TRAI circulars, we may have some labor law circulars stating that this particular data we have to keep for at least 7 years, 15 years, 10 years. Now that will give you your storage limitation requirement for the data. Okay, in the case if you do not have any regulation or law, you yourself can identify the retention period dependent on your business purpose. Standard says identify that retention period for how long you're going to keep the data. If you have the regulation will dictate it already. If you do not have the regulation, define yourself, but importantly, define. Okay. Design consideration to fulfill other rights of data subjects. So every right must provide some certain rights to data subjects. Right to access, where the data subject or individual can access their information. Right to modification or correction, where individual can correct or modify the information. Right to deletion in certain cases, where individual can request the organization to delete information in certain cases. Or right to object, where the individual can come to the organization and tell them to stop processing of the data. So these kind of rights are provided. So you need to have, organization need to have a procedure in place or mechanism in place, one, so that an individual can come to the organization and request these rights. And two, when an individual comes to the organization and requests the rights, you fulfill the rights and provide the end result or response to the individual. So when you have a product, when you have a solution and service in place, ensure that you are considering these requirements. You are providing them the right of access, right of correction, or right of deletion option over here. Okay. For example of right of deletion I can give is when you have account in many apps, right? Certain apps give you option of deletion of your account, where you delete and you can delete the account and your data will automatically get deleted in the backend after some time period, whatever they have mentioned, after verification that you're correct person or not. Other applications don't always give you option of account deletion. You can uninstall the app from your mobile phone, but the account always remains. And that is the difference. So when you are designing an application, you can consider design of providing the right to data subject. Is what this standard states. Moving on to verification and testing, you have identified the privacy requirements. You have identified, the privacy principles and what you are supposed to do with each of the principle, considering the data that you are processing and also the product or solution or service that you are going to provide to the end user. You need to test what you have designed and developed, correct? You need to have various test scenarios, test cases to be prepared for each of the scenario in data minimization, purpose limitation, retention, or design consideration for rights. And then you have to identify what kind of violations and breaches may happen, and do a functional testing of it. Correct. Prior to deployment, you need to also get the solution tested by an independent team to see if there are any changes, if there are any issues or not. Uh, Whenever you are fixing the identified bugs, so you need to also do a regression testing if there is something going wrong somewhere, or if you want to also test that because of this change that you have made in the solution right now, if there are some areas which have now open to bugs or not. So do that testing. Along with that, do a compliance checks periodically. uh, Ideally they are done annually or 6 monthly, dependent on the organization, but if you can't do 6 monthly or quarterly, at least annually do a compliance check on the product. And most importantly, do the compliance check whenever there is a jurisdiction or applicable regulation changes that are happening. The next one is, apart from the privacy principles that you looked at, you need to also look at certain other things, certain other processes. And for that processes, most important thing is you need to identify your or define your privacy objectives. You need to have a data privacy function. You will look at data privacy as a whole. Dependent on the organization, size of organization, you can choose what is the size of your data privacy function. You can have a part-time shared responsibility in data privacy. You can outsource it to third party. You can have a full-time resource as a data privacy officer. You can have a working committee of small group of data privacy, dependent again on organization, or you can have a complete steering working committee and different level of structure for data privacy, dependent on your enterprise, mid-level, small company, what is exactly the size of the organization and what kind of personal data you hold. Okay. Data privacy management system, develop it, develop policies and processes along the line for data privacy. We talked about privacy principles. So various principles will require their own SOPs. So develop those, maintain records. So there are a lot of things that will required to be done. And without maintaining the records, it will be tough situation for establishing that we are complying with the applicable regulations. So maintain the records. Conduct privacy impact assessment. So ensure you are conducting impact assessment when you are processing high risk of data, or if there is any change in the system. So if there are any new products and services or solutions that you are developing, or if there are any change in products and services and you are going to develop, right? In that case, conduct privacy impact assessment if there are high risk changes. To give you an example, there is a there is attendance system in the organization where person goes and fill attendance in HRMS system at the start of the day, and end of the day they just log off. The organization now decides, no, we want to bring in biometric where we'll get the fingerprint entry. That is a high risk information that you are going to collect and process from the person. Correct. So in that case, you need to identify and conduct a privacy impact assessment to see if you bring this fingerprint attendance system, will the data that I'm going to collect from the person, how secure I'm going to keep it, for what I'm going to keep it, what kind of third party I'm going to use. So identify all the risk, all the gaps in privacy compliance, and try and mitigate those gaps. So conduct privacy impact assessment. Not required for all the processes, but any process that is high risk. Okay. So if you assume that information is high risk, conduct the privacy impact assessment. Perform data processor management. So whenever you are employing a service provider or a data processor, you need to have a proper privacy contract with them. Before that, you need to understand if the vendor that you are onboarding, right, are they able to provide the similar level of data privacy as required by your organization, right? If there is a gap, then you can choose to not go with the vendor, uh, importantly, but you need to have a data processor management system in place where you conduct the due diligence before onboarding a new vendor, where you have proper contracts in place with these vendors which define privacy clauses, what they are supposed to do. Do you have a right to audit their systems to understand data privacy? Do they train their people who are accessing your personal data on data privacy? Do they know that what are do's and don'ts of data privacy, right? and ongoing monitoring, because the way there are changes in your organization, there will be changes in your service provider organization as well. So you need to monitor them also. So you have processes for periodic monitoring of data processor management. Have processes for privacy risk management. So whatever risk you have identified in various stages, in privacy impact assessment, during data processor management, uh, have a privacy risk management process to manage those risks. Uh, have process for privacy incident management. So any incident or any breach of personal data, you need to have a process for that. How you will respond, or how you will notify to the authority about the breach, how you will mitigate the breach, who will mitigate the breach, right? Who will inform the authority about the breach? Do you require to inform the individuals or data subjects about the breach? So your privacy incident management process will answer to these questions in a framed and proper format. Uh, then we talked about data subject rights, right? Every applicable regulations will give you certain rights. So you need to have process for responding to that. Who will be responsible? How it will be done? Whom to contact? When to contact? What is the response time? Then have process for grievance redressal. So whatever you do, however do you do, some people will always have some complaints about it, and then you have to respond to them. You have to solve their queries. So have process for grievance redressal in place. uh, Ensure that your staff, your employees know about privacy and what they are supposed to do with the personal data that they hold. And they are, if they are the frontline workers, they know how to respond to the data privacy queries of any person. Look at ongoing regulatory compliance, because if you look at past 4 or 5 years, there are a lot many changes happening around the world. Every month there is something new that is coming, uh, with respect to data privacy. So ongoing regulatory compliance, to understand what changes are there currently in the regulatory compliance system worldwide, and then accordingly make the changes in your data privacy management system. Now, more importantly, many organizations falter on this aspect. They initially go for the compliance gaps and implementation, but they don't go for ongoing maintenance or ongoing compliance with this. So, conducting periodic audits to identify and be compliant with uh, whatever we have done till now is more important. So, ensure that you are conducting periodic audits to understand where you are or your organization is standing right now. Next step is measurement and continuous improvement. Obviously, you have implemented and no need to stop over there. You have to every time improve in your data privacy management system, one step further always. It is not always perfect, the system. So the system has to be improved, bringing new innovations, new checks, new challenges that those are there around data privacy. No, now looking at privacy objectives, when you are defining, you're going to need to look at certain things, starting from your nature of business operation, type of individuals data you're processing. Are you processing data for your employees, end users or customers, your website visitors, guests, office visitors, guarantors, reference, who are they, right? Nature of personal information, what kind of PR you are collecting? Are you collecting simple information like name, email, address, or are you collecting high risk information like biometric information, iris sensor, DNA data, health information? Correct. So identify that, your organization business objectives, what are the objectives of your business, and align them with that. And geographical distribution. Now you are in one country, you are in multiple countries, you are across continents. How exactly your geo distribution is there? So considering all these aspects, then you need to identify what are your privacy objectives. Most importantly, when you are defining your data privacy management system, you also need to understand certain things, or should include uh, classifying personal information. So again, you have identified personal information that we hold, but then you can classify the personal information further by saying this is financial information, this is specific to health information, this is employee information, this is training information. But identify and classify this information, and then it can further classified into the infosec classification. confidential, secret, public, private, internal classification, right? You need to have inventory of personal information. If you don't know where your data is, you will not be able to do anything about it, right? So you need to have an inventory of personal information, where exactly your data is, what kind of the data you have, who has access to it, right? You can modify it. If you are moving it to third party for processing, which third party you are moving it to. So you need to have complete inflow, outflow, and within flow, basically in organization, what exactly is happening with the personal information. Okay. You need to also have, so many of them have change management process, uh, which basically talks about what happens when there is a new solution or product, or where there is a change in existing system or law. So you need to do the same thing with respect to personal data as well. So you need to have procedure to introduce new personal data collection or change in existing personal data collection. The example given earlier holds true, where we were earlier taking attendance using the software where the click was necessary, right? Where login logout time was collected. But then we decided now the change in existing, where we are deciding that we will use the biometric information. So not only my login logout time, but my biometric, my fingerprint was getting stored uh, also with the organization. Okay. Triggers for updating DPMS. So you need to identify what are the triggers. So if you identify CCPA, California regulation is my applicable law. So any change in CCPA is the trigger for your DPMS. If you also identify along with CCPA, I also require to adhere to Singapore PDPA, Singapore regulation, then that is also the trigger point for updating your data privacy management system. You need to identify the triggers as well. Okay, moving on, the organization should document the privacy policy that is applicable. Privacy policy is an internal document which gives the organization intent to all the employees of the organization. It gives the guidance to a guideline to organization how to adhere and what is the privacy intent of the organization, what they are supposed to do, what they are not supposed to do. Privacy policy should be authorized by the senior management, right? And it has to be communicated to all stakeholders, because privacy policy tells what the organization can, will, should do with the personal data. And personal data is always processed by the employees of the organization or stakeholders. They need to know what the organization is talking about personal data and what is their intent about the personal data. It has to be aligned with the privacy objectives that we talked earlier, right? The policy should include commitment of the top management, and it also include privacy principles that your organization is going to adhere to. We talked about the principles earlier. You need to look at the privacy policy and say, this principle I am going to adhere to going forward. Now, we talked about some procedures earlier, that we need to have procedures. So we need to document these procedures, the SOPs for the organization to adhere to. These processes should cover following: inputs required, outputs, sequence, what steps need to be taken to adhere to the processor, what criteria and methods you will be needed to ensure effective operation, who will do what is the responsibility and accountability of each function, each role for each activity, right? Determine the steps if there are any exception criteria. So many processes, the processes steps are given, responsibilities are given. However, many processes fail to identify the exception criteria. To give you an example, access control will be there. But what about an exception in access control? We have processes when there is a BYOD policy is there. But what is an exception to that case? We have policy for exit process with personal data and taking away access control. But what is the exceptions over there? So many processes, this also step is very important to identify process and guidelines for deviations or exceptions to the set process that we have identified for data privacy management system. Okay. The process definition and deployment should take in consideration all the areas from collection to processing to data disposal. So starting from data collection, what is the basis of processing? Is it consent? Is it legitimate interest? Is it legal obligation that you have? what is the basis of processing? Whatever data you're collecting, is it proportionate to the purpose that you have identified? Are you collecting only minimum necessary data? Are you providing information to the individual you are collecting the data from? Right? When you're processing the data, are you providing enough security to the data? Are you providing access control? Only people who require to that information. Are you sharing the data with them? Are you keeping a disclosure restriction? Uh, how the access reviews are happening. So are you having processes around it? So standard talks about that. And then last step is just data disposal. Retention is one of the principal, right? Storage limitation. So when you are disposing the data, no indefinite retention, you have defined your retention period, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 2 years, 3 months, 2 days, 90 days. So you have defined the retention period and then you are sticking to the retention period. When you are deleting the information, you are securely disposing or deleting the information. And if you want to keep the information, you are anonymizing the information by scraping the personal identifiers. So you are only keeping the aggregate data which will not identify a person, right? So you're securely having data disposal process. And for that, we'll have supporting processes revolving around it, which are basically grievance redressal, vendor management, impact assessment, data subject rights, privacy risk management, which we talked about earlier. Moving forward, it also states that we need to have ongoing regulatory compliance in place. Some of the day-to-day responsibility is we have access to legislative updates and appropriate guidances. So until unless we don't have these subscriptions and we don't know what is happening uh, for that regulation, we will not be able to make any changes, right? Conducting management reviews of the privacy policies for ongoing to check that if there are any changes required or not. Continuously checking the DPMS reflect changes. So I know there is an update in XYZ regulation, CCPA, maybe HIPAA, maybe India PDPB will be coming very soon, right? So I know there are changes, but are they reflecting in my privacy management system? So I have to look at that as well. And assisting and interpreting various regulation or exemptions that are there. So every regulation will have certain things which are mandatory to do. Any regulation will have certain requirements which are exempted. So you need to identify that and interpret that as well. That is also most important when you are doing ongoing regulatory compliance. This activity has to be done regularly on daily basis. You have to allocate some time to it, because if you miss it, uh, then it will not be useful for the organization. More importantly, periodic audit has to be done for data privacy. Correct. We have implemented, we have identified, we have designed as per the standard requirement. But now we have to do the periodic audits. The periodic audits has to focus on compliance organization practices. Correct. The audits can be of two types. One is adequacy audit and second is compliance audit. Adequacy audits are basically the first stage audits where you are designing everything. So you have designed all the processes and practices in place and you have just now designed and kept it. That is adequacy audits. So that is like in future, if something comes up, I am ready for complying with it. Compliance audits is the next step audit where you already have policies and processes in place. Now to check, are you complying? Are you going through the privacy policies and procedures in place when you are responding, or you don't know, you are not following, the documents are still there, but you are not looking at it. So these are two steps of audits when you are looking at privacy or periodic audits for privacy or data privacy management system. Okay. The standard emphasizes implementing a documented process for continual improvement. It majorly talks about whenever you are having any issues, any actions, or any risk that you identify, you need to ensure that those risks, those measures are corrected ongoing basis, and there is a continual improvement in your data privacy. You need to look at this by setting some metrics for your data privacy management system. These metrics can be around what is your time to mitigate privacy risks. So any privacy risk that comes up, how much time the team is taking to mitigate the privacy risk, how much time the team is taking to breach response, how much time how much number of critical privacy incidents you have identified in during the time. Were the 6, now there are 3, now there are 2, how exactly? uh, how many changes were there in the time, and how many changes were required to do conduct PIA, how many changes didn't require to conduct PIA, right? A percentage of employees trained on data privacy. Now, these are the metrics you can measure to see your continual improvement. And also you can look at when you're presenting it to your senior management, or you are yourself is assessing your data privacy management system, you can look at your improvement in two ways, considering the trend in improvement. Like I was 70% compliant with privacy requirements in October. Now I'm 85% requirement, 85% compliant with the privacy requirement. And by December, I'll be 100% compliant with whatever privacy requirements or privacy compliance requirements or controls I have set up for me, right? And when I'm compliant with everything, exceeding the set targets for or the benchmark according to the industry for your industry that you have identified. So you can decide on that what is the improvement parameter that you are going to consider for your organization is what the IS 17428 standard states. The clause 6, the final clause, talks about compliance. It says the organization has to fulfill requirements of section 4 and 5 in order to be considered compliant to the standard IS 17428, which we talked just now. The organization must fulfill all requirements in section 4 to 5 unless it demonstrates that certain subclause does not apply based on an evaluation and the same is documented. So when you decide that I'm looking at 4 and 5 and a certain section is not applicable to me, maybe data processor management, because you are not outsourcing your information to any data processor. So that data processor management is not applicable to me, you decide on that aspect. But then you have to demonstrate and you have to document your finding that this subclause I'm not going to work on. I still have the processes. In future, the data processor comes, but I will not be able to show you reports and everything, vendor analysis and everything, because I don't have current data processors in place with me, or we don't employ data processors, right? But you need to identify all the sections. You need to identify the applicability, and any section you think is optional to you, it does not apply to you, you need to document that exception. Important. Okay. Required documentation, list of applicable regulatory requirements that you have, scope of the data privacy management system, it applies to whole organization or part organization. Privacy policy, your privacy objectives, they can be a standalone document, they can be part of your privacy policy, that depends on you. Privacy officer roles and responsibilities, what they're supposed to do, evidence of personal competence. So you are choosing the privacy officer. The privacy officer has knowledge about privacy and how the privacy can be implemented in your organization, right? Privacy notice. So we talked about the organization has to have privacy information or notice provided to the data subjects. So evidence of that. Data protection impact assessment process and the record if you are conducting the DPIAs. Privacy incident management process, and again the record of incidents and the responses or the notification that you may have provided to authority or the data subject. Data subject request management process, and also the report, the request that you may have received, how you responded, the respond emailers to the individuals or requesters. Grievance redressal process, any grievances, the mechanism of grievance redressal, also if any request or any queries that you have received and the responses that you have sent, record of DPI responses to data subject request, result of monitoring and measurement, results of internal audit, because we need to do a periodic audit, result of management review where you are presenting the privacy report, and result of any corrective actions for all the gaps or all the compliance non-conformities arise from all the process that you are following. So the corrective actions that you have taken. So these documented requirements need to be there as IS 17428 talks about. Okay. Having said that, let's look at IS 17428 implementation challenges. What are those? Justifying resource allocation to top management. Where to start and to identify the privacy risk. Identify personal data and sensitive personal data, where the data is in the organization, who is the owner, asset owner basically. Most important, changing employee behavior, adding to data protection to the mindset is really difficult. And identifying what is required, what is essential, and what is not necessary from IS 17428. So you have all the sections and clauses, but what is the requirement, what is essential, and what is not necessary from the subclauses, and keeping the evidences in place accordingly. So that is most important with IS 17428. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Let me take the questions that we have right now, if anything.